Are you looking to learn about disaster recovery in cloud computing? If so, this video is for you. Hi, my name is Michael Gibbs and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Architects, and we're an organization dedicated towards building high-performance cloud computing careers. I've been working in technology for well over 25 years now, and I've been coaching or mentoring others to get their first tech job or get promoted in tech for over 2 decades. And today we're going to talk about cloud disaster recovery. Now, when you're doing disaster recovery on the cloud, you're really advantaged. The cloud is really a wonderful place for disaster recovery compared to what we used to have to deal with data centers and disaster recovery options. So because of this, we're going to give you the 4 cloud disaster recovery options, and we're going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of each approach. Now, there's lots of terms like hot standby and pilot, and all these are used by various cloud providers, but a lot of times people have their own definitions. So what we're going to talk about is the 4 methodologies for cloud disaster recovery, and we're going to do them in generic, plain, simple English terms, so no matter where you work, you're going to understand it. The first option is what I call backup plus. And what I'm really talking about here is the first type of disaster recovery is basically you have your data center or your VPC, it doesn't matter. And you basically make machine images of every type of server you possibly have and move it to the cloud. And you basically take your data and you copy it over to the cloud at relatively frequent intervals. That is your first opportunity. It's basically backing up your data and backing up your systems, moving them to the cloud, leaving them there, and if and when anything were to happen, you would launch the virtual machines, and then you would basically have your data there. Now, there's strengths and weaknesses of each approach. The strength of this approach is this is an incredibly cheap form of disaster recovery, and it's highly effective because you can basically copy everything over, and you're not paying much other than the storage fees. Now, here's the downside. Let's say you want to bring your systems online. This isn't going to be that fast. It might take you 8, 10, 12 hours to do so, but you can get your systems up and running relatively quickly because you basically copied your servers in terms of machine images and you've copied your data. So that is option 1, basically make copies of your servers plus your data. Now let's say you wanted something a little better, but still on the cheap side. What organizations typically do is, again, this is version number 2, so this is your second disaster recovery and cloud computing option, is basically you make machine images of all your servers and move them to the cloud. And you take your data, periodically synchronize it to the cloud, but you keep a database on the cloud, and you also keep the database in either your data center or in your VPC, and you synchronize them. And by doing this, your systems are more up to date. So basically, you've got machine images and a synchronized database. So with this cloud disaster recovery option 2, what's going on is basically we've got machine images and basically a database is active and stored data. And this can come on faster online because your databases are synchronized. But again, this is still a relatively slow option, but it's a very cheap option and it's a very good option for lots of people for disaster recovery and cloud computing. Next, we're going to start to get into really good options when performance is needed for disaster recovery. This next option, which is many people would call, say, a warm standby, is as follows. Basically, you take your data center or your VPC, it really doesn't matter. You replicate it to the cloud with small compute instances and auto-scaling groups. So let's say I've got 100 web servers here of a certain capacity. Maybe I just put 1 web server and I keep it up and running. Maybe I have a couple app servers here. Maybe I have a single web server up and running. Maybe I've got my database here. My database is synchronized over here. Everything is basically a small version of what exists. And you've set up a DNS policy, which will basically say go from your data center to the disaster recovery option or your VPC to the disaster recovery option. And as soon as a failure is detected by DNS, your traffic will be rerouted to your disaster recovery center, which is most likely just a VPC in the cloud. And systems will be online. Auto-scaling will take them up, and in about 45 to 60 minutes, you have an environment that's going to dynamically bring itself online and take care of all your customers. So this is a really good option. Basically what's going on is you've got a cheap small instance running here. Your databases are synchronized and your data is synchronized. And as soon as there's an outage, basically auto-scaling comes in, scales up, and poof, you are up and running. Very low cost or moderately low cost way to basically have a really high availability failover solution. That may take 45 minutes, but that's still pretty fast and it happens in an automated fashion. Now, the last type of disaster recovery option is basically a hot environment. Now, I've been designing these systems forever because I've been working in super high availability systems that need to be 5 nines or better. And these organizations do as follows. Basically, whatever they have in their data center or their VPC, they have a complete mirror image of it in the cloud. 100% full capacity running at all times. If you've got 100 web servers in your data center or your VPC, you're going to have 100 web servers running in the VPC that would be your disaster recovery place. Same thing. And if anything were to happen, basically what happens is your DNS will be running a health check, and it'll basically be checking your data center or your main VPC, and it'll say, okay, not there. DNS will reroute your traffic to your disaster recovery option, and it'll be up and running in seconds. So this is the fastest way to bring your systems online, but it's also the most expensive because you have basically a copy of your data center in the disaster recovery region. So let's go over these 4 options again, strengths and weaknesses. Basically, you've got your machine images plus your data. It is the slowest environment to bring back, but it is really cheap and is a great way for any business to have a disaster recovery option. People that could never afford disaster recovery before now have a suitable option. Next option, on the second cheapest, but still second slowest, or it's going to be the second slowest if a disaster were to happen, is we basically have your AMIs, which you bring over to your disaster recovery, which are basically copies of your virtual machines, as well as you synchronize your database. Option 2, relatively long recovery, but it's faster because your databases are synchronized. 3, basically keep a warm system, basically have your whole system set up in your data center or your VPC, and basically in your disaster recovery place, basically have single instances, small instances, and auto-scaling groups that can scale up as needed, and if a failure occurs, they'll automatically dynamically scale up, but it's going to take 30 minutes to an hour to be at full performance, but at least you know it's going to happen dynamically. And for those organizations that can't tolerate downtime at all, there's the hot standby environment, where basically they've got a data center or their VPC, and they've got an identical copy in the disaster recovery environment. There you go. These are your 4 cloud disaster recovery options. And today we talked about disaster recovery and cloud computing. Please let me tell you some things that we do for the Cloud Architect community. On Mondays and Fridays, we have a completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. And on our first How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar, we do the following. We tell you everything you need to do to get hired as a cloud architect. We tell you what you need to study, what needs to be on your resume, the kind of experience, things that you need to do, which you can do on your own, by the way. And we teach you how to interview and things that hiring managers care about. It's free. It's Monday and Thursday. We want you to come. We want you to become cloud architects. And we want you to have a great cloud architect career. So we provide this as free as cloud architect training. Now, on every Tuesday, we have a webinar on how to get cloud architect experience. Look, let's face it, you need technical competency and some kind of experience to get hired, but it doesn't have to be working for someone else. But you definitely need technical competency and experience. So on these webinars, we will teach you how to get the experience you need. We do it every Tuesday. It's completely free. Lots of these times we have architecture challenges, and I will present a solution the way an executive would, and you guys will get to design the architecture. Lots of people come. It's a lot of fun. We do it almost every Tuesday, and everybody sends me an email and they tell me how much they learned and how much fun it was. So please join us. Get lots of emails, and I love doing it for those reasons. Every Wednesday, or almost every Wednesday, we have a completely free Cloud Architect question and answer session on YouTube, where basically I come in and you can literally ask me any questions about building your cloud computing career, and I will answer them for you real time. Again, that's typically free. The link to all these 3 things are in the description below, except for the YouTube lives. You've got to subscribe to my channel to find out about it, and as well as hit the bell and you'll be notified whenever we're going to do a YouTube live. We are offering a completely free AWS Advanced Networking Bootcamp. I will tell you, I started my networking career in around 2000. I will tell you that I'm one of the original Cisco certified internet experts, and I am passionate about talking about the network. And we are going to have a fun 4 or 5 day live boot camp for the AWS Advanced Networking, completely free on the YouTube channel. So please sign up. The link for it is in the description below. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching this video. It's been an honor and a privilege to be working with you and talking to you and bringing you as part of the Cloud Architect community. So I don't take this lightly, and it's an honor to be part of this. Thank you for watching, and at Go Cloud Architects, we do everything we can to help you build your cloud computing careers. We look forward to seeing you in another video very soon. Take care.